Welcome to our deep dive into research methods in abnormal psychology. Abnormal psychology focuses on understanding unusual patterns of behavior, emotion, and thought, which may or may not be understood as precipitating a mental disorder. To study these complex phenomena, researchers use a variety of scientific methods. In this video, we'll explore the main approaches used to investigate abnormal behavior, from case studies to experimental design. By the end, you'll have a clear understanding of how psychologists gather evidence and draw conclusions about mental health and disorders. Let's begin by setting the stage with a brief overview of what abnormal psychology entails and why research methods are so crucial in this field. Before we can study abnormal psychology, it's important to define what we mean by abnormal. Psychologists consider several factors, such as statistical rarity, violation of social norms, personal distress, and maladaptive behavior. These criteria help researchers determine which behaviors or experiences fall outside the typical range. However, definitions can vary across cultures and change over time. Understanding these nuances is essential for designing effective research studies and interpreting findings accurately. As we move forward, keep in mind that the concept of abnormality is complex and often debated within the field. Research is the backbone of abnormal psychology. Without systematic investigation, our understanding of mental disorders would be based on anecdote and speculation. Research methods allow psychologists to collect data, test hypotheses, and build evidence-based theories. This scientific approach helps distinguish between myths and facts, leading to better diagnosis, treatment, and prevention strategies. In the next scenes, we'll break down the main research methods used in abnormal psychology and discuss their strengths and limitations. One of the earliest and most detailed research methods in abnormal psychology is the case study. This approach involves an in-depth analysis of a single individual, often someone with a rare or unusual disorder. Case studies provide rich qualitative data and can reveal insights that might be missed in larger studies. However, they have limitations, such as lack of generalizability and potential researcher bias. Despite these drawbacks, case studies have played a crucial role in the history of psychology, helping to identify new disorders and generate hypotheses for further research. Naturalistic observation is another valuable method in abnormal psychology research. Here, psychologists observe individuals in their natural environments without interference. This approach allows researchers to see how abnormal behaviors manifest in real-world settings, providing context that might be lost in a laboratory. While naturalistic observation can offer authentic insights, it also presents challenges, such as lack of control over variables and potential observer bias. Nevertheless, it remains a key tool for understanding the complexities of abnormal behavior. Surveys and interviews are commonly used to gather information from large groups of people. In abnormal psychology, these methods help researchers collect data on symptoms, experiences, and attitudes related to mental health. Surveys can reach a broad audience quickly, while interviews allow for deeper exploration of individual experiences. Both methods rely on self-report, which can introduce biases, but they are invaluable for identifying trends and patterns in mental health across populations. Correlational studies examine the relationship between two or more variables. In abnormal psychology, researchers might look for links between stress and anxiety or between childhood trauma and later mental health issues. While correlations can reveal important associations, they do not prove causation. It's crucial to remember that just because two variables are related, it doesn't mean one causes the other. Correlational research is a powerful tool for generating hypotheses and guiding further investigation. Experimental method is considered the gold standard in psychological research. In this approach, researchers manipulate one variable, the independent variable, to observe its effect on another, the dependent variable, often using control and experimental groups. This method allows for conclusions about cause and effect, which is essential for testing treatments and interventions in abnormal psychology. However, ethical considerations and practical limitations sometimes make experiments difficult to conduct, especially with vulnerable populations. Quasi-experimental designs are used when true experiments are not possible. In these studies, researchers compare groups that already exist, such as people with and without a particular disorder. While these designs can suggest causal relationships, they lack the full control of true experiments, making it harder to rule out alternative explanations. Quasi-experimental methods are especially useful in abnormal psychology, where ethical and practical constraints often limit experimental research. Longitudinal studies follow participants over an extended period, sometimes years or even decades. This method is particularly valuable in abnormal psychology for tracking the development and course of mental disorders. By observing changes over time, researchers can identify risk factors, protective factors, and long-term outcomes. While longitudinal studies provide rich data, they require significant resources and are vulnerable to participant dropout, which can affect results. Cross-sectional studies collect data from participants at a single point in time. This approach is efficient for comparing different groups, such as those with and without a mental disorder or people of different ages. While cross-sectional studies are quicker and less expensive than longitudinal studies, they can't capture changes over time or establish causality. Still, they are widely used in abnormal psychology to identify associations and generate hypotheses for further research. Twin and adoption studies are powerful tools for understanding the genetic and environmental influences on abnormal behavior. By comparing identical and fraternal twins, or adopted children with their biological and adoptive families, researchers can estimate the heritability of mental disorders. These studies have provided key insights into the roles of nature and nurture in conditions like schizophrenia and depression. However, they also have limitations, such as potential confounding variables and ethical considerations. Meta-analysis is a statistical technique that combines the results of multiple studies to draw broader conclusions. In abnormal psychology, meta-analyses help synthesize findings from diverse research, increasing confidence in results and identifying patterns that might not be visible in individual studies. This method is especially useful for evaluating the effectiveness of treatments and intervention. However, the quality of a meta-analysis depends on the quality of the included studies and the methods used to combine them. Ethics play a central role in research on abnormal psychology. Researchers must ensure the safety, privacy, and well-being of participants, especially when studying vulnerable populations. Informed consent, confidentiality, and minimizing harm are key ethical principles. Institutional review boards (IRBs) review research proposals to ensure they meet ethical standards. Balancing scientific goals with ethical responsibilities is a constant challenge in this field. Choosing the right sample is critical for research validity. In abnormal psychology, researchers often use clinical samples, community samples, or convenience samples. Each approach has strengths and weaknesses. Clinical samples provide direct access to individuals with disorders but may not represent the general population. Community samples offer broader perspectives, while convenience samples are easier to recruit but may introduce bias. Careful sampling ensures that findings are meaningful and applicable. Reliability and validity are essential concepts in psychological research. Reliability refers to the consistency of a measure, while validity concerns whether the measure actually assesses what it claims to. In abnormal psychology, reliable and valid assessments are crucial for accurate diagnosis and research findings. Researchers use various strategies such as test-retest reliability and construct validity to ensure their tools are trustworthy. Operational definitions specify how concepts are measured in a study. For example, depression might be defined by a score on a particular questionnaire. Clear operational definitions are vital for replicability and interpretation of results. In abnormal psychology, where concepts can be complex and subjective, precise definitions help ensure that researchers are studying the same phenomena and that findings can be compared across studies. Standardized assessment tools, such as structured interviews and psychological tests, are widely used in abnormal psychology research. These tools provide consistent ways to measure symptoms and behaviors, making it easier to compare results across studies and populations. Examples include the DSM-5 criteria and validated questionnaires for anxiety or depression. Standardization enhances reliability and validity, but it's important to ensure tools are appropriate for diverse groups. Self-report measures are commonly used to assess symptoms, thoughts, and feelings in abnormal psychology. Participants complete questionnaires or rating scales about their experiences. While self-report is efficient and provides valuable insights, it can be influenced by social desirability, memory errors, or misunderstanding of questions. Researchers often combine self-report with other methods to get a more complete picture. Behavioral assessment involves observing and recording specific actions or reactions. In abnormal psychology, this might include monitoring anxiety behaviors or tracking mood changes over time. Behavioral assessments can be conducted in natural settings or controlled environments. They provide objective data, but may miss internal experiences like thoughts or feelings. Combining behavioral and self-report data often yields the most comprehensive understanding. Physiological measures, such as brain imaging or heart rate monitoring, offer insights into the biological aspects of abnormal behavior. These methods can reveal patterns linked to mental disorders, like changes in brain activity during anxiety or depression. Physiological data complement psychological assessments, providing a fuller picture of mental health. However, these methods can be expensive and require specialized equipment. Objective tests like the Rorschach blot test ask individuals to interpret ambiguous stimuli. The idea is that people will project their unconscious thoughts and feelings onto the images. While projective tests have a long history in abnormal psychology, their reliability and validity are often questioned. They are now used less frequently, but can still provide unique insights in certain cases. Clinical interviews are a cornerstone of abnormal psychology research and practice. These structured or semi-structured conversations allow clinicians to gather detailed information about a person's history, symptoms, and functioning. Interviews can be tailored to the individual, providing flexibility and depth. However, they require skilled interviewers and can be time-consuming. Combining interviews with standardized tools often yields the best results. Observational coding involves systematically recording behaviors using predefined categories. In abnormal psychology, this might include coding facial expressions, speech patterns, or social interactions. This method provides objective, quantifiable data and can reveal subtle patterns that might be missed otherwise. However, it requires careful training and clear definitions to ensure reliability between observers. Randomized controlled trials, RCTs, are the gold standard for testing the effectiveness of treatments in abnormal psychology. Participants are randomly assigned to treatment or control groups, minimizing bias and allowing for strong causal conclusions. RCTs are widely used to evaluate therapies for disorders like depression and anxiety. However, they can be expensive and may not always reflect real-world conditions. Single-subject designs focus on one individual, often using repeated measures to assess changes over time. This approach is useful for evaluating the effects of interventions in clinical settings. By closely monitoring one person, researchers can identify patterns and tailor treatments. While findings may not generalize to others, single-subject designs are valuable for personalized research and practice. Qualitative research methods, such as interviews and focus groups, explore the lived experiences of individuals with mental disorders. These approaches provide rich, detailed data that quantitative methods might miss. Qualitative research is especially valuable for understanding complex emotions, cultural factors, and personal narratives. While it may not produce generalizable results, it offers deep insights into the human side of abnormal psychology. Mixed methods research combines quantitative and qualitative approaches to provide a more comprehensive understanding of abnormal psychology. By integrating numerical data with personal stories, researchers can capture both the breadth and depth of mental health issues. Mixed methods are increasingly popular, as they allow for triangulation of findings and a fuller picture of complex phenomena. Culture shapes how abnormal behavior is defined, experienced, and studied. Researchers must consider cultural differences in symptoms, stigma, and help-seeking behaviors. Cross-cultural research helps identify universal versus culture-specific aspects of mental disorders. Being culturally sensitive in research design and interpretation is essential for producing valid and meaningful results in abnormal psychology. Application is the process of repeating studies to see if results hold up. In abnormal psychology, replication helps confirm findings and build confidence in theories. Reproducibility refers to the ability to achieve similar results using the same methods and data. Both are essential for scientific progress, but challenges like small sample sizes and publication bias can make replication difficult. Publication bias occurs when studies with positive or significant results are more likely to be published than those with negative or null findings. This bias can distort our understanding of abnormal psychology by overrepresenting certain outcomes. Researchers and journals are working to address publication bias by encouraging the publication of all results, regardless of outcome. Advances in technology have opened new avenues for research in abnormal psychology. Big data and digital methods such as analyzing social media or electronic health records allow researchers to study mental health on a large scale. These approaches can reveal trends and patterns that were previously inaccessible, but they also raise new ethical and methodological challenges. Translational research bridges the gap between basic science and clinical practice. In abnormal psychology, this means applying findings from laboratory studies to real-world treatment and prevention. Translational research helps ensure that scientific discoveries lead to practical benefits for individuals with mental disorders. Collaboration between researchers and clinicians is key to successful translation. Prevention research focuses on identifying risk factors and developing strategies to prevent mental disorders before they occur. In abnormal psychology, prevention can involve community programs, early intervention, and public health campaigns. Effective prevention research requires careful study design and long-term follow-up to assess outcomes. Program evaluation assesses the effectiveness of mental health interventions and services. Researchers use a variety of methods, including surveys, interviews, and outcome measures, to determine whether programs achieve their goals. Program evaluation is essential for improving services and ensuring that resources are used effectively in abnormal psychology. Community-based participatory research, CBPR, involves collaboration between researchers and community members. In abnormal psychology, CBPR ensures that research addresses real-world needs and respects the perspectives of those affected by mental disorders. This approach can improve the relevance and impact of research, but requires strong partnerships and mutual trust. Dissemination and implementation research focuses on how evidence-based practices are shared and adopted in real-world settings. In abnormal psychology, this means ensuring that effective treatments reach those who need them. Researchers study barriers and facilitators to implementation, helping to bridge the gap between research and practice. Stigma research examines how negative attitudes and beliefs about mental illness affect individuals and society. Researchers use surveys, experiments, and qualitative methods to study the impact of stigma on help-seeking, treatment, and recovery. Understanding stigma is crucial for developing interventions that promote acceptance and reduce barriers to care in abnormal psychology. Trauma-informed research recognizes the widespread impact of trauma on mental health. In abnormal psychology, researchers use sensitive methods to study trauma's effects and develop interventions that avoid re-traumatization. This approach emphasizes safety, empowerment, and collaboration with participants, ensuring that research is ethical and supportive. Technology-assisted assessment uses digital tools, such as mobile apps and online surveys, to collect data on mental health. These methods can reach diverse populations and provide real-time insights into symptoms and behaviors. Technology-assisted assessment is becoming increasingly important in abnormal psychology, offering new opportunities and challenges for researchers. Ecological momentary assessment, EMA, involves collecting data on thoughts, feelings, and behaviors as they occur in real life. Participants might receive prompts on their smartphones throughout the day. EMA provides detailed, real-time information and reduces recall bias, making it a valuable tool for studying dynamic processes in abnormal psychology. Genetic and neurobiological research explores the biological underpinnings of abnormal behavior. Techniques like genome-wide association studies and brain imaging help identify genes and neural circuits involved in mental disorders. These methods are advancing our understanding of the causes and mechanisms of abnormal psychology, paving the way for personalized treatments. Animal models are sometimes used to study the biological and behavioral aspects of abnormal psychology. By observing animals, researchers can investigate genetic, neurochemical, and environmental influences on behavior. While animal research has contributed to our understanding of mental disorders, it also raises ethical questions and may not always translate directly to humans. All research methods in abnormal psychology have limitations. Issues like small sample sizes, measurement error, and cultural bias can affect results. Researchers must be aware of these challenges and strive to minimize their impact. Critical thinking and ongoing evaluation are essential for advancing the field and improving our understanding of abnormal behavior. Summary: research methods in abnormal psychology are diverse and continually evolving. From case studies to big data, each approach offers unique strengths and insights. By combining methods and addressing challenges, researchers can deepen our understanding of mental disorders and improve care. The future of abnormal psychology research promises even more innovative tools and discoveries, helping to build a healthier, more informed society.